Hey everyone, of course, here with Craig. He's going to be joining us on weekly, bi-weekly videos. As a little intro to everybody, we are going to be jumping into, of course, Craig's background, some industry stuff, talking about the markets, talk about gold, talk about mining on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. Happy to be here, happy to start doing videos. And for anyone who wants something covered, make sure you leave a message below and we'll try and cover them in future videos. But first things first, Craig, how are you?
Very good. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. I am enjoying the scorching hot weather as much as some people are hating it. I take the 2 months or 3 months that we get and enjoy them as much as I can. But let's
Canadian quick summer.
exactly. It'll start snowing again soon, so you gotta capitalize on it while we can. But let's start off. So hop into, maybe you want to start, where you went to school, what you went to school for, maybe your first couple jobs out of school, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, I did my undergraduate and graduate study actually at Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. And it's a small school, but it's a great launching point for exploration. And for students, we get exposed quickly to the Precambrian Shield and all the deposits. So it actually works out a lot nicer than some of the southern locations.
Yeah, a little bit more hands-on for sure. Oh, and so that's awesome. So you're at Lakehead. What did you take?
Geology,
in
both the undergraduate and my master's. So, yeah, I don't know why, but I've always been interested in rocks. When I was 5 years old, my parents bought me a book on geology. I had a mineral collection, age 9, like I was up at Sudbury, always cracking the rocks, the nickel there. So I don't know, it's in my brain.
Hey, I remember, are they called geodes? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Like when I was 5 or 6, my mom bought me a little geode and cracked it open with my dad. It was this big thing. So, hey, I always had a soft spot for rocks too. You have all your fool's gold. I had my whatever, like one of those divider things where you've got your tiger's eye, your whatever, and all the way through it. The typical sets. Didn't get too crazy with them. Did have a rock tumbler though, so you could say I'm. So you could say I got into it a little bit more than the average kid, but not too much more than that. So walk me through that. So you do your graduate in geology, and then what happens?
Well, during my undergraduate years, I started worked first for Falconbridge Copper, which there was a number of exploration areas in northwestern Ontario, and I loved working for them. They were a great company. And obviously they've moved on since then and changed names, but that was a real great experience. That was back in '82, so quite a number of years ago. And I just loved the whole exploration feel. Like you go camping essentially and get to go fishing every day and crack rocks during the day. So that was fun.
So, okay, well, hey, awesome. And no, you're right. I mean, being out there, you're in the kind of the heart of a lot of a lot of different mining companies, a lot of rocks, like you say. So then walk me through. So you start there, like, maybe what were your first jobs? Walk me through then how you started moving up. And we'll get to First Energy Metals in a little bit, but maybe just walk me through the path on how you got there.
Well, I guess in a way it's a typical path where you start off as the junior who's sampling, then you become the senior on a couple different projects, and then you become a project geo. I worked for a number of different companies throughout the years, including the up in the Nunavut. It was Northwest Territories back then for the government. So that was really interesting. I mean, it's like when you're going to school and you get your summers, of course, it's a short period of time, but when you work in exploration field, you get paid well, you can bank the money because you're living in a tent essentially.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of that excellent experience. I mean, I've seen a lot of people who have paid PhDs who don't get that field experience. So it's invaluable.
So incredible. So work with the government of Nunavut instantly to me sounds extremely cold. So like, were you actually like, if were you going up north? Like, what was that kind of like?
Oh yeah, with Chesterfield Inlet, Baker Lake, that whole area.
Yeah.
It was sort of opening up for exploration. There's now a mine there. Agnico Eagle has a mine there. So there was nothing at the time. So it was very new, and people were discovering some greenstone belts. It was very interesting time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really rare where you get to be part of the discovery of things, like a greenstone belt.
Yeah.
Normally, it's been mapped out 100 years ago.
Well, cool. Here, I'll give you a little taste of, maybe my background, just to give you insight. I don't, maybe it makes it in the video, maybe it doesn't, but it's funny. I went to school for accounting, so not a rock guy, but I ended up working at a mining company for one of my co-ops. It was DMC Mining. They were doing consulting for BHP in Saskatoon, and you touch on some good things. It was extremely hard to spend money when you're at a mining camp and you're traveling all the time. It's can't really buy anything, so it's a great way to save money. It was great as a student to save money, and it was
back in September, and you've actually got some money in your account rather than, oh, I blew it all on rent for the summer that I had, and food, because you get free food and free accommodations typically.
Yeah, no, for sure. So cool. Well, hey, so I guess you get a bunch of flavors for different things. You worked at a bunch of different companies. So tell me, how did you get involved with First Energy Metals? How did that come along?
Okay, well, I got introduced to the CEO, Gurm Sangha, by actually sort of taking over another company that he owned. And as time went on, he stepped down from that company. We were doing something in Arizona for that project, but Gurm and I kept in touch on a weekly basis. He started, sending me a project. Said, what do you think of this? Sending another property. What do you think of that? So I would look through the database, look through the geology, and give him my opinion, whether it was worth picking up. And as time went on, I understood the First Energy strategy, which it's not a rich company, but we want to get something high quality with not too much of a huge exploration commitment, especially in the first year, something that we can bring forward for investors to get excited about, and essentially not have need a large money raise. So we can keep the company fairly tight, and yet at the same time do some, very focused quality exploration.
Very cool. Well, do you want to maybe walk through, I guess, what your day-to-day looks like at the company? So you talk how you got involved. Do you want to say maybe a little bit more, and keeping in mind people watching this might not have a mining background or probably don't know very much about the whole exploration side. So using simple terms, if you want to maybe explain the day-to-day.
I do want to say, though, I don't know if it came out in my background, but I've worked in over 30 countries. I've worked in almost every continent but Antarctica. I've worked all throughout South America, throughout Central Africa, Southern Africa, Russia, China, you name it, India.
Okay, go into more detail. So you're at these crazy countries. Like, what is doing what? Like, tell me about some of the projects. Like, hey, add some flair to it. Why not? Make it a little crazy.
No, I mean, it was really exciting. First of all, when the former Soviet Union opened up, I always thought that would be an amazing thing to go over there and work. And I was able to work in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. So that's an area that, although it's not quite common to think of it, there's a lot of gold there. One of the world's largest gold deposits is called Morantau in Uzbekistan. I got to go visit it and see it. That was very exciting. And to look for Morantau analogs in the area, as well as a Canadian company had a project called Kumtor up in Kyrgyzstan, the high mountains there. I got to work near that project. I got to go see Kuntur many, many times.
Doing
And
what? Just
also,
curious. Like, what are you doing at these?
well, first of all, mine tours and then exploration in that area to find deposits of similar type, similar age, and hopefully similar size, because those are very large deposits. So I spent about 5-6 years through that region looking for new deposits, had some successes there. In Tajikistan, which was bought by a Chinese company, Zijin Mining, that I worked for, as well as one called Tali Bulak Left Bank, and that was also purchased by Zijin. And they used a lot of my recommendations and my sort of familiarity with the governments and how things progress there, because it's not like Canada. You got to be a little patient. You got to be always willing to negotiate more than 3 times because they kind of pull the rug out from under you now and again. I was involved in a very exciting project in the Alaska of Russia. So across from Alaska, it's called Chukotka. And that was an extremely high grade, around 4 million ounces. We did a 43-101 new reserve on that with Micron out of England. That was a very interesting project. However, often the price of gold fluctuates. So you come off of a high price to a low price, and the next thing you know, you're off perhaps looking for a copper deposit or a diamond or oil field. And I did get involved in a number of big copper deposits like Kamoa in the DRC. I was involved in the negotiations for that. That was a 50-50 purchase with Ivanhoe. Robert Friedland was involved in that, and that took a while to negotiate. And I was negotiating with Barrick for the Porgera mine in Papua New Guinea, which again, the Chinese company I represented did buy 50% of that. So those were 2 very large purchases that I was involved in, the purchase of Porgera and Kamoa. Almost $1 billion spent that within about 6 months.
Incredible. That's a pretty crazy resume. Well,
Yeah.
hey, do you want to maybe even say it? So it sounds like 30 countries doing this. Big, exploration guy, obviously. And we'll get to, another question in a second. Do you want to maybe highlight, pick like 3 or 5, things on your resume that you're like, hey, like this was awesome. Doesn't need to be the biggest wins, but if you want to maybe pick some quick highlights of, hey, like we were here, I was doing this happened. Do you want to maybe list a few of them?
I was working with Teck. They sent me down to Argentina and Chile, and we had just an enormous area to sort of try to cover. And it was an interesting way to do it, which was me and about 3 Canadian prospectors. These prospectors are amazing at finding mineralization, whereas geologists often spend too long and look, and then next thing you know, we want to spend months mapping. But the prospectors move fast. So that way we were able to cover an area almost 500 kilometers by 300 kilometers with prospecting and then follow-up geology, which we eventually located a deposit called Lindero, which was around 3 million ounces or so. I mean, obviously it was nothing when we first found it. And I think it was picked up eventually by Rio Tinto. I was also, flew into Panama and followed up some exploration Teck had done at a very early stage up in the mountains, and we started to define a very large copper gold deposit. My first 2 drill holes were extremely exciting, over 2% copper, over like 1 to 2, 3 grams gold throughout the whole drill hole. And the first people to fly in were Barrick and Rio Tinto to come see it right after my second drill hole. They asked permission to come look because it was so exciting. So that was a Chorcha, that project was called. In Tanzania, I was working in an area of it's Proterozoic rocks, but it felt like it was an Archean analog. That might not make sense to a lot of people, but it was basically a new area that was opening up, and there was very significant drill hole results for a project. Became the property of Canaco. So anyway, that was a very exciting time, though, to be involved in the exploration area that's very new, sort of a rethinking of Proterozoic rocks. Maybe they're actually Archean. Maybe that's not exciting for everyone, but it was really cool for us, and to see the models starting to hold. Very highly deformed area with good gold content. I got involved with one of the largest mining companies in China. They hired me to be their deputy general manager and look for overseas projects for them. So I had done exploration in China and Inner Mongolia and Xinjiang province in the west. And they hired me to basically look at every country on the map and come up with very large properties. That's why I had mentioned Kamoa that we did the deal for, Porgera. We were looking at Australia. We did a purchase in Australia that I was sent there to do. So that was a very exciting time to do the high level negotiations, to do the due diligence, as well a project in the Philippines with a company called Indofil. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because the governance of that area decided to go against open pit mining, but I'm sure that project won't sit there on the shelf for long. It's a very large project, very exciting, copper gold. So all of those were exciting to be involved in. I mean, it's not every day you get into the giants like those are.
Yeah. Well, crazy. I mean, you talk to people, a lot of people go through their whole life and never really see a big discovery. You obviously have an incredible resume, some crazy travel. I can't imagine what that was like. Some of those areas must be extremely interesting in some cases. So, it's
old status with a lot of airlines.
It almost feels like, now you've settled down a little bit with First Energy Metals.